Welcome to this edition of the Million Dollar Mastermind podcast. This is where we pick the brains of high achievers from all walks of life and get their hard-earned, real-world insights on winning. I'm your host, Larry Weidel. I'm going to have to get one of your, what do you call it, manuscript? A manuscript?
Maniscripting journal.
I'm going to have to get one of these and try. I use a online app, but what I do find is you're right. And I've got it all, you can populate it the way you want. You have templates and this, that, and the other, but it's pretty darn elaborate. However, you're right. You get on there and before you get started in the morning, it's like, let me check the news because, if the aliens invaded the White House last night, I don't want to hear about it from someone else. I want to find that out, or if something tragic happened, I at least want to be aware of that. But then I'll find out, then what pops up is Britney Spears did something here. And it's like, what?
Right?
And then you're off to something over here. Justin Timberlake says that's ridiculous. And then all of a sudden you got at least a minute or two. It's like, wait a minute, this is not why I went to check the news.
Yeah. And you're lucky if it's a minute or two. Usually it's like 5, 10, 15, all of a sudden 30 minutes, an hour is gone. And you're like, oh my gosh, like, what am I doing with my life? So, yeah.
Yeah, because the news media knows they can keep you if they hook you on all this craziness, the nonsense. But all I want is the news. But then, no, it doesn't work like that. And then the other side of it, of course, is to know that down through the years, the people who have been, the phrase I heard earlier about here, Samantha, is you've got to be specific to be dynamic. And so that's why I've always been, and coaches. The great thing about athletics is you have a season. You have a season. And then you have games in that season. And then you have a preseason. And then you cycle, you got to divide it all out there. And the elite coaches have, like Dean Smith, who at University of North Carolina, his practices were organized down to the minute. Those players went in there because they only had so much time to get college players that the NCAA would allow for practice. And they had it down to the minute. And Roy Williams, who was his assistant coach, when every player went in every day, every player at the front of their locker had a list of how it's going to go, what they were supposed to be doing, what their role was, and organized. And so and they had that ready day by day for every player before the season started. And so, and then you hear things about journaling from, like, I'm sure you use this with Leonardo da Vinci. He had 1,500 pages of notebooks. And they were he probably had 500 words at least on and diagrams on every page. So it wasn't like he wrote, I heard a great joke today. It was really detailed information.
Yeah.
And so you've got history on your side, you got logic on your side. So I'm going to have to get one of your manuscripts and play with that. But why did let me ask you this. Usually there's good reasons and bad reasons for people making major. Why did you leave Marina Del Rey? Tell me the real reason.
The real reason? I don't know if I could. Real reason is
we're on it. We're just friends. It's just me and you. We're just nobody's going to hear that.
I'd lived in LA for 9 years.
Look at that expression on your face. I tell you.
I lived in LA for 9 years.
I have touched a nerve. Go ahead.
It was a great, I moved there for a reason to take on modeling and acting, was successful in that. And then it brought me to meet my fiance there. And I loved, my dream was always to live at the beach. And when the pandemic hit, everything changed. Everything changed out there. And it was just that, again, had to follow my gut and intuition. It was time for us to go explore, live somewhere else. And we ended up here. But LA will be a big place in my heart forever.
You polished it up. You finessed it. You should think about a career in politics. But what would you say changed for you that you said, okay, there's got to be something better for me? And then why Austin, of all places? So what changed?
What changed?
What did you start noticing? What started to get not as happy as it was before? that you can actually tell the world,
How people treated each other out there.
Talk about that.
How people treated each other. And for example, like we lived on the beach, right? We lived on the
Right.
beach. We'd walk the beach, very amazing, beautiful, clean, fresh air. And,
Yeah.
For multiple years, you'd be out there just walking your dog, having fun, and people would walk by and yell at you and be really mean to you about, where's your mask? Where's your mask? What are you doing? And it's like, we are out here in on the ocean air, which is the
There's a
healing
breeze.
buffer. There's a breeze. Like you're like 50 million yards away from me. And this was happening all the time, to be honest.
Wow.
It was just that. It was just this constant. And even after mandates were lifted, people were still very just not nice, like walking into stores and stuff like that. It's like, oh, it was just, and we're not in alignment with a lot of that stuff, to be honest. And being from a place of being very holistic and knowing how to heal your body and all these other things, and just seeing when your eyes are truly open, when you're awake to what's really going on, it's like, it's really hard to be in an environment like that 24/7 where you're in a good mood leaving your house. And the second you step outside, someone's all up in your face. And it's like, all right, it's time to go. But I really did feel like that chapter of my life was wrapped up. I feel like I kind of squeezed everything that I could out of LA with the purpose and intention that I had. And we decided, it's like, all right, it's time to go. It's time to move. And actually, we were wanting to move to Florida. And for over a year, we were looking at places in Florida because we're very much beach people. And we took many trips out there and just could not find the place that's like that felt good, that like, oh, this feels great.
You should have called me. You should have called me, Samantha. I could have helped you.
I should have called you. Well, maybe soon, because I know we love Austin. I know it's probably not our forever film. I don't know where that next would be. But all I did at that point, and this comes back to like your goals, your dreams, your visions, and being super clear on what it is that you want, I decided to just get on Zillow and type in all the specs for the house that I wanted and just zoomed out on the map of America, because we're at this point really like, we got to go. We got to go somewhere. We got to get out of here. We got to continue with everything here. And I zoomed out, and then I just started zooming in on different pockets. And all of a sudden, like, even though a lot of our friends had moved to Austin, or people that we knew, a lot of people came here, right? Especially from LA. But that wasn't a reason why we chose here. I just like literally found this one house here in Austin. It looked amazing in the pictures, had all the specs that we wanted. We wanted more space. We wanted land. We wanted to be out in the country, out of the city. Like, I'd lived in the city for so long. It's very energetically draining. We wanted to breathe the fresh air, not see neighbors, have our dog, have Milo, our dog, to be able to run around freely. And I zoomed in on this one house, and it had everything. And we're like, let's go check it out. So we got on a flight like a couple of days later, came to check it out to make sure it was real and legit. And then signed the paperwork that day. And within a week, we had our entire place packed up on a container to come here. And we just did it. It was that, again, what we've been talking about this entire podcast, that intuitional gut, that feeling that let's do it. Because at the end of the day, like, say you do make a decision, whether it's moving, whether it's quitting your job, career, whatever. If you hate it, if it sucks, if it doesn't work out, you can always go back. We know we can always move back to LA if we wanted to, or somewhere else, but you'll never know the potential and the success and the happiness if you don't try. So we just trusted our gut, and we love it here. We are so happy here.
For those of you who are sick and tired of fooling around and are dead serious about wanting to move up fast, I've got something especially for you. I've combined the best insights from over 40 years in business and making $70 million in income and compressed them into a free webinar. That's right, it's a free resource. If you want to find out exactly what the concepts are that I use in coaching $1 million earners, register now at WeidelOnWinning.com. You'll discover the 5-part framework used by so many to reach their financial, personal, and professional goals. You can find that link in this episode's show notes. What you did was you got away from a toxic situation. And, those people, what the pandemic did was allow people that are naturally nasty and mean permission to be nasty and bossy and mean and act like Gestapo agents. And even in Aspen, the mountains, the breeze, and the health, and this, that, the other. There was one woman that one of my therapists told me about. She would walk around with her dog on the sidewalks and he'd go, 6 feet, 6 feet, 6 feet. It's like,
yeah,
you're 50 feet away from me. Why you say, what are you talking about, you idiot? And then I actually stopped skiing on Aspen Mountain because I went up 2 times. And one time they were yelling at this. I found that when they're yelling at someone next to you, the poison gets on you too. But they were yelling at this nice little lady, like she's 80 years old, but she had the mask here. She didn't have it up here. The nostrils were covered, but what else? And this guy's screaming at her. We're in the line to go up the gondola. And we had no idea whether it had turned around and finally figured out it was like something about that. But the toxin gets on you if you got people screaming. And it happened 2 or 3 times up there. I said, I'm off the mountain because I come out here. I live out here for fun, happy, regenerating. Skiing is, miraculous experience. And I don't want to have that poison forever. And so I'm off the mountain. I'm just not going to expose myself to that toxin. And if you find yourself in that kind of toxic environment, one person can ruin things for you. If it's in a company or if it's a neighborhood or whatever, but move. I mean, you can't, killing them does not really pay off, folks. That's a temptation. You want to just, I'll just eliminate them. No, you can't eliminate them, but you can't eliminate you, and you don't have to. And I think one thing, Samantha, a lot of us don't realize what that was. Well, that's verbal bullying. People, you're being bullied. It's just like someone's hitting you with a stick, but they're doing it with words. And until you're aware of that concept, it takes you a while to pick up like what's happening here. But, for whatever reason, if you're in a situation where people feel empowered to go ahead and be bullying to you, like neighbors in your condo association or in your apartment building or in your neighborhood, you don't have to stay there. There's a lot of happy, pleasant people in the world, and get out and look. And so that's what you did. And I'm happy for you doing that and removing that toxin out of your life, because now you can go back, down the road. Marina Del Rey in LA was not ruined forever, but it might have been ruined forever had you continued to be exposed to that,
Right.
And
Exactly.
so I'm happy. So the thing is, our environment, you hear attitude is everything, environment is everything, and you've got to make the choices that put yourself in a position, in a geography, in an occupation with support people to where you can be your best.
Yes.
And if there's any toxicity or poison in there, you got to get rid of it. I mean, there's some people that we have listening to this podcast. There are people in their life they've got to eliminate from their circle of friends. However, you got to get them out. You don't have to allow yourself to be imposed upon the rest of your life, because your number one priority is to be productive and pursue your destiny. And that's where you're going to make an impact. And if they come in and are constantly pouring on water to put out your inspiration and your fire, they got to go. Don't you think? Do you see that?
100%, right? Like, we know the saying, like, you're this like combination of the 5 people that you hang out with. I think it goes way beyond that. It is, your immediate family, friends, your surroundings, your environment, that all is a combination. Like, I think about it now, just as you're saying all this, it's like, isn't it interesting? The first year in the business, we didn't hit 6 figures. And granted, it was a new company, but also the stuff that I was dealing with on a daily basis in my life during that period of time was a lot of negativity.
Right.
And you can't just ignore all of that. Like, you can't just be like, well, I'm just going to be immune to being bullied or immune to the hate or immune to any of this stuff. Like, it's going to affect you. But isn't it interesting, after moving to Austin, where I'm feeling great every day, I'm taking care of myself, I can go out freely without being scared, oh, who's going to yell at me today? Or who's going to be an asshole today, right? It's like, I'm feeling good every single day. And isn't that interesting that all of a sudden the business, like, 10x, right?
Yeah.
10x so quickly. So it all plays an effect. And what you just said, like, I can't stress it enough. And of course, there's some people, like, for example, family members. Like if you live with your family, that's hard. And if they're toxic, that's hard to get away from. Limit the exposure, move out. Like you can remove yourself from these places and you can remove certain people from your life. And you don't have to be like, oh, I can't hang out with you anymore. You're toxic. It's just no, you start making, different plans. You start just limiting your time. Don't go out with them every time they invite you. Go do something else. It's so easy.
There's ways of, use your brain. There's ways of avoiding that, filling up your schedule. And because they've got problems that is not yours, you just can't let their problems be yours. And when you do the journal, what have you noticed from your journaling, your manuscript, and talking to people about that, the interaction, that what comes up more, like you say, people are doing great and everything. What are the kind of improvements in people can kind of guess some of this? They're getting specific, they're getting more organized, but what have you noticed from your vantage point, the biggest advantage for people who get involved in this activity, and why is it so advantageous for them to spend that 5 or 10, 15 minutes to kick off the day like this? How does it transform? What do you hear from your end?
Like 100% of the time, someone that's used the journal for at least a week even, it is, holy crap, my mindset, my mood has drastically changed. Because all of a sudden they went from, being impacted every single day or spiraling in their own negative thoughts to, oh my God, I can do this. I am the creator of my life. I can take the steps to make changes. So the mindset shift is huge. And that's like, if you think about it, every single day, it's not that we're battling the outside factors. We're battling this between our ears, right? Like this is our biggest battle because this tells us exactly how to think, how to feel, how to react, all of that. So when we can get our minds right, like that's what makes you truly unstoppable. So that's the biggest thing that I hear. And then of course, when you're in that positive mindset, that's when you start taking the action. And then guess what happens when you take the action? That's when you start seeing results. That's when you see success. So it's this ripple effect of really starting with the whole journal is about achieve your dream life, manifest your dream life, achieve your goals and all that. But honestly, that's just the hook because that's what people want. But ultimately, it's the self-development, it's the mindset shifts that happen in here that make the external changes and results.
Well, I think we all want to do great things with our life, and that means you're going to, be performing at an elite level. And you hear this in sports all the time, that what separates the elite people, like in golf, the top 140 players in the world that are qualified for the PGA Tour, they'll say that 120 of them have the fundamentals on the swing down to be in the top 5, but what separates them is what's going on in their mind. That's why when we're in athletics, all the time we had coaches were telling, get out of your own way, but, we don't know what that means. But the battle for really the top elite performance in everything comes into what's going on in your head. I used to tell all of our leaders that the rest of your life, you're going to be your biggest enemy. It's not going to be things. It's not going to be, we're all worried about the Middle East. We're worried about politics. We're worried about this. But in our life, the thing that we need to be focusing on is ourselves. And the thing is that journal can help. In the manuscript, it can help you keep coming back and centering on that, that you stay organized. What's the priorities? What, matters most to you about what comes to you that you feel like needs to be done today, and what can you move? How can you move the needle for? I always say that success is not guaranteed, but one thing you can do is continue to stack the odds of success in your favor. You can start changing it percentage wise and keep doing that. And eventually, while it's not guaranteed, it will be inevitable, and so you can influence results by your behavior, but not if you don't stay on track. And that's why I think you're on to continue to make a bigger and bigger impact with this. And so I'm happy you found it. What do you find out on so when I say that to you, all of that, blah, 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 I'm really endorsing what you're doing. How does that resonate with you? Because you live this life.
Yeah, that's exactly 100% of it. And I just wish, and my wish for humanity in general is to somehow learn this and apply it to their life, because every single day, there are tragedies happening, there's things happening that are not great. And that all just lowers our energy, our frequency, our thought, our drive, all of that. And really just learning to take care of yourself, right? Like mentally, emotionally, all of that. Because I truly believe that everyone on this planet, on this earth, has some sort of gift and purpose to share.
Right.
But most people don't ever wake up enough to tap into it. And that's the real shame. So everyone has their light. And I just hope by them tapping back into themselves and clearing out all the junk and really tapping into their true purpose and getting their mind right, we could create some really beautiful things on this planet.
Thanks for listening to the Million Dollar Mastermind. If you felt there were any valuable takeaways from this episode, please take a minute and leave us a 5-star review. Your feedback is important and really helps us get the word out to a wider audience. Remember, we have a valuable webinar that is absolutely free. Register for it right now at weidelonwinning.com. Thanks for listening.